Hello, and welcome back to the journey from Cana. The intercession of our Blessed Mother and the graces that flow from her intercession are endless. Our Lady of Lajas, located in Colombia, is yet another wonderful example of God using our Blessed Mother to pour out His graces on His creation. As the story goes, in the year 1754, a woman named Maria was traveling home from a neighboring village when a thunderstorm broke out. There was a grotto nearby called Las Lajas, which translates to the slabs or the rocks. However, the natives of the area believed the area was cursed, so they would avoid it. The storm raged with such strength, however, that she was forced to take shelter in there anyway. When she went inside, she started praying and made the sign of the cross, asking for the Blessed Mother's intercession and to protect her. While praying, she thought she felt someone or something come up behind her and touch her shoulder repeatedly. Thinking it was the devil himself, she ran back out into the storm, as she would rather face it than turn around and see whatever it was in the cave that had touched her. Some time later, she was again walking the path which crossed in front of the grotto. However, this time she had her young daughter Rosa with her. Rosa wasn't like other children, as she had been born deaf and so didn't speak. When Maria was passing the grotto, she became overcome with exhaustion and couldn't go any further, so she sat down on a large rock outside to rest for a moment. While she was resting, her daughter clearly said, "Mommy, look at that mixed-blood woman who had detached herself from the rock, and with a little boy in her arms, and look at the two little mixed-blood men at her side." Maria, surprised to hear her daughter speaking, much less so clearly, immediately looked up to see her crawling toward the grotto. Maria quickly ran over, picked up Rosa, and quickly left, without looking back. When she got home, everyone was curious about what had happened to Rosa, as she was now talking and playing with children her own age, as if she always had been able to speak and hear. However, no one could explain what happened. While she was still suspicious of the grotto, she would bring Rosa back there, and occasionally they would leave flowers or candles in thanksgiving of the miracle. One day, Maria noticed that Rosa had disappeared, so started looking everywhere in the village for her, but couldn't find her. She remembered how excited Rosa was when they went to the grotto, so she decided to try to go look there. When she arrived, she found Rosa playing with a young, handsome boy about her age, and a beautiful woman with a crown was watching over them. She knew at once that this was Jesus as a child, and the woman was his mother, the Blessed Virgin, so she immediately fell to her knees before them. Feeling unworthy of what she had seen, and not sure how to explain it anyway, she decided not to tell anyone what she saw. Her joy at this miracle, however, was short-lived, as not long after, Rosa became sick and died suddenly. Overwhelmed with grief, Maria took her lifeless daughter's body back to the grotto, praying for a miracle. What drove her was the knowledge that her daughter's hearing had been cured there, so perhaps she would receive yet another miracle and have her daughter returned back to life. When she arrived, Maria prayed, begging for the Blessed Mother's intercession, and described how much Rosa loved her and wanted to honor her. It was then that Maria's prayers were answered, as Rosa started breathing and opened her eyes, smiling at her mother, as if she had simply been asleep. Word of the miracle spread, and the next day the village along with the priest had a procession to the grotto to give thanks for the miracle. When they arrived, they were greeted with a brilliant portrait, not painted but imprinted on the wall, that no one had seen before. The image was of the Blessed Mother, holding her infant son in her arms, dressed beautifully with her hair down to her elbows. She was handing St. Dominic a rosary, and the infant Jesus was handing St. Francis of Assisi a Franciscan cord. Suffice it to say, the image quickly became a place of prayer and devotion for the villagers in the area. It didn't take long for word to get out about the miracle, and a blind priest named Father John de Santa Gertrus heard of the image and so wanted to build a church in honor of the Blessed Mother to celebrate the miracles. Despite being blind, he wandered around the region on foot, begging for money to build the chapel. And in 1764, 10 years after Maria's first experience in the cave that stormy night, Father John collected enough money to begin construction. When construction of the church was completed, Father John went and knelt before the image and prayed in thanksgiving for God, allowing him to build the church in Mother Mary's honor. While kneeling before the image, his vision was restored, and the first thing he saw was the image of our Blessed Mother that had moved him to build the church. Over the centuries, the image has not faded, with the colors as brilliant as the day it first appeared. Today, a Gothic church stands built to house the image, and in 1952, Pope Pius XII formally recognized the miraculous image with a canonical crown, and gave it the name Our Lady of the Lajas and her Divine Son. Today it's a pilgrimage site, with thousands going to visit the miraculous image every year. As is the case with documented miracles, the Church has invited scientists to study the image to verify its authenticity. They have confirmed that it was not painted onto the stone, and they cannot tell how the image got there or where it came from. Centuries in the sun have not dulled it, and the geological samples taken found no paint, dye, or pigment of any kind. They found that the image actually permeates several feet of the rock face, and is evenly distributed throughout several feet of rock. It's as if the image itself is a part of the rock. The only man-made part of the image today are the crowns on the head of Jesus and Mary, as those were added later by the local villagers as part of their devotion to the image. And that's the story of Our Lady of Lajas. I don't know about you, but personally I love reading and learning about devotions to our Blessed Mother. They are all unique in how she reaches out to her children using the local customs, but at the same time spreading the same message of love, compassion, and most importantly, leading us to her wonderful, beautiful Son. And here we have a location that the local people were scared of, filled with superstition about demons and curses. However, God used their fear to strengthen their faith in Him, and in doing so, showed them that they had nothing to fear at all, and in the process performed miracles showing His power and, most importantly, His love. Rosa not only had her hearing and speech restored, but was raised from the dead. If that's not enough, we have the eyesight restored of a priest as well. All miracles Jesus Himself performed in the Gospels, and He did so through His mother's intercession. To make it even clearer, God placed an image of His mother to honor her, and just like with Our Lady of Guadalupe, He did so in a way that can't be explained, and is full of symbolism so that there is no doubt that it is by His will and power. For example, the stars of the Blessed Mother's cloak represent her heavenly origin and her role as the Queen of Heaven. The Blessed Mother, being of mixed heritage, represents the unity of all the faithful, regardless of race and culture. God even saw fit to honor His servants that had a large impact on the faith of the local population. Saint Dominic, being given a rosary, symbolizes the Blessed Mother giving Saint Dominic the rosary, which then he in turn gave to the Church. A devotion that has allowed Christians to pray in unity and honor our Queen and Mother, while meditating on God's love, grace, and His plan of salvation. As St. John Paul II put it, the Rosary is a prayer both so humble and simple and theologically rich in biblical context. I beg you to pray it. And finally, St. Francis of Assisi, who started the Franciscan order, is being given a Franciscan cord. A Franciscan cord represents being tied to Jesus, and has 3 knots tied into it symbolizing the 3 vows of the Franciscan order: the vow of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Vows that we all should take to heart. It doesn't end there, however. Franciscan missionaries were instrumental in spreading the Christian faith throughout Colombia. The image of St. Francis and St. Dominic also represent how the faith of a mustard seed can blossom and bear such great fruit. The faith of these 2 saints, centuries before, blossomed into a faith that converted a continent halfway around the world. Makes you stop and wonder how many other lives and communities that were touched by those saints, doesn't it? And on that note, how many lives will you touch on your journey? This great journey from Cana, started by our Lord Jesus over 2,000 years ago. Thank you very much for joining me today. If you liked this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.